Today we're going to talk about why someone would prefer living in Poland over the UK. Link to the original video is down in the description below. If you like the commentary and discussions we have here on my channel, consider subscribing. I also have a playlist to all my Polish related content down in the description. Without further ado, let's jump right into it.
If I had a grosze for every time somebody asked me why Poland, I would be eating pączki for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And honestly, I get it. It's not the most conventional thing to hear, right? A British person moving and living in Poland. Quite honestly, it's often the other way around. But in this video, I want to pack 5 years worth of reflections and the time that I've been in Poland into honestly answering this question.
5 years is a lot to live somewhere out like overseas, especially when there's so much or just out of your home country right now, at least today. It's becoming more common, but with like passport bro culture and kind of this like I don't know, maybe it's just a reflection of the internet, but it feels like a lot of people go somewhere for a little bit and then leave when they feel that they can't fit in. So to see someone be there for 5 years shows that maybe he's been there really committed to learning and adapting.
Why I prefer living in Poland over the UK. So let's go. Dawaj. That's a good pączek. Mini pączek. You can get them now in Żabka. Crazy.
Żabka mentioned.
Let's start with the biggest thing that I noticed almost right away upon moving to Poland, and that is the increased safety. So I live in Warsaw, the capital, right? And I can safely say that I feel very safe walking around pretty much any part of the city at any time of the day or night. It's not to say that there aren't some shifty areas, of course, like any big city there is, but really, in comparison to the UK, it is almost night and day. And this is coming from somebody and myself who's lived in 3 different major UK cities in Newcastle, Manchester, London, varying sizes. It's a very different feeling when it comes to safety. So everything that
And I think, and this is something that people need to realize, a lot of social media right now or a lot of the commentary in regards to safety is mostly coming from women, because Europe is becoming increasingly unsafe towards women, which is funny because it's at the same time that illegal mass migration of military-aged males from countries that don't respect women coming into Europe being imported in mass. It's crazy that how it all lines up. But besides the point, the idea is that usually you see and hear those stories because of statistics that are being published today. What's something to consider is it's now becoming extremely unsafe for men as well. Now, I live in America, and America's just kind of like a battle royale. It's everyone versus everyone all the time. So you kind of get used to it, right? We also have guns, so it's a little bit different. So you can protect yourself. But in a country where you don't have that accessibility and that protection, you start seeing that you become the victim, whereas in the past you would be the protector.
I'm talking about here is just my own personal lived experience, right? And just a feeling that I've got in terms of safety within Poland versus the UK. But I can actually back it up with some very real data.
And what's crazy too, I don't know, he's going to talk about data, but I don't know if he's going to talk about this. So I'd rather put this little bit in here is to Poland's credit, the laws also protect you. This is what's crazy. Okay. It's not just the culture element of it and the border security and like the pride of, protecting your sovereign nation, but it's the laws. The laws are pro-Poland versus pro-migrant in most cases. So I still think, me being fair, I think Poland could do better about moving the laws to be pro-Polish. But when you look at a lot of Europe, I was just going to say the UK since we're talking about UK here, but if you look at a lot of Europe, the laws, for some reason, don't favor their local populations. It's just unanimously towards illegal migrants. It almost feels like there's a saying that the conversation that European populations are being replaced by their own governments. It kind of feels like that when you examine the laws and how the shift of power goes towards non-citizens. So that's something to also remember. So it's not just the data, but if you really sit down and look at the laws, they don't protect your citizens. So like people that live in the UK, right? If you look at any of the local laws in regards to any of the regions, right? They don't favor the local population. They don't favor them, right? Like it's actually weird. It's astonishing because these are the populations of people who are more happy or so ready to criticize America, but don't realize that they're slowly being replaced.
For example, let's look at homicide rates, which per 100,000 people is 0.7 victims in Poland. Compare that to the UK, which is 1.2. Then we look at robbery. There's 21 victims in Poland per 100,000 people. In the UK, that rises between...
And don't even get started about, I don't want to say the R word, the RAPES in the UK. It's extremely high. And for some reason, the government just doesn't seem to understand why it's happening. Or at least they're covering it up.
80 to 120. So basically, whichever way you look at it in terms of my anecdotal feeling, but then also the data, you're just less likely to encounter this kind of violent crime when living in Poland.
Violent crime. Remember, this is violent crime. It's not like, oh, I stole my neighbor's lawnmower because there's a dispute about it. It's just like, oh, this is whatever. No, this is violent crimes. Like, the world needs to stop living their lives off vibes politics and embrace like the world that we live in.
Compared to the UK. The next big thing that I prefer about Poland, and this is a big one for me, is that it's very clean and it's very...
Oh, Poland is... I keep having to move my camera. I'm just going to put it way up here. Sorry, y'all.
Very orderly. The streets are swept and the bins are emptied, but honestly, I think the biggest difference is just the people. I don't see them littering. I don't think littering is part of the culture. Another little example of this is you see these signs in various places which basically says respect the green space. If it's just a little bit of lawn, for example, anywhere in the city, and people really respect that. They genuinely walk around the path, sort of keep to the path, and just respect the sign, which is honestly something in the UK which I just don't think you would see, and was something initially that I had to sort of get my head around a little bit because
look at it this way, like this is one of the reasons why I think the Polish people are so unique, so beautiful, and a role model to the rest of the world, is because take a country like Poland, whose history, your history, that it went from not existing for so long, and now finally you have your independence and you're thriving in the modern era. It's like you represent what it means to have a difficult past and be grateful and excited for your future. Whereas like the UK and many of these other European countries, they're importing populations that don't even care for the country. They're just there to mooch. And so they're going to treat it like trash. And so the local population are also going to treat it like trash because it's all the same. They're going to get treated like that anyway. So it's like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's like if you invite a bunch of homeless people into your home and put no rules on them, they're going to trash the place. That's just how it is.
I just thought I could just save a bit of time and just walk across the green space. But I kind of came to realize in time that that's just not really the done thing here. Another example.
Also, he's a guest. Like, he should just be understanding of that,
Example of this orderliness among the Polish population is in pedestrian crossings. So, for example, when the man is on red, they do not cross that road. It doesn't really matter what time of day it is. It could be 2 a.m. If the man is on red, generally speaking, they are going to wait until it turns green to cross. And again, upon first being here, I was quite frustrated by that, honestly, because it's just not something that we do in the UK. We'll just, if the car isn't coming, we'll just cross. And I would be sort of getting a bit frustrated, thinking, why am I wasting my life just standing here when I could just quite safely cross? But then I began to realize over time that they were just respecting the rules.
Honestly, that's, if I, not saying I'd ever live in Poland, but if I ever did, that would be something I had to get used to. Because here in America, we do that all the time. Everybody does it. It's just, especially when you live in a big city and everything's like so fast paced, sometimes those lights just take forever. And it's just like, it's not even worth it. Like, I'm just going to go.
And that they were,
But it's something I would have to get used to in Poland. And I think that's part of being a good guest. I would, learn to integrate. If I ever lived there, or even as just visiting as like tourists,
just sort of following the status quo, I guess. But with that comes a sort of respect for rules more generally, which I have grown to respect, and I think is sort of indicative of the wider respectful culture, which I think Poles have for their own surroundings and society. Next thing I want to talk about is the weather, which I definitely prefer in Poland compared to the UK. Now, this may or
Look, hey, look. I'm actually very curious what he's going to say here. I'm actually very curious what he's about to say, because if there's anything that gets people debating in my comments, it's what you like or who doesn't like what about the weather. The weather is one of those things, especially when it comes to Poland. So, or really about Polish weather. Because I see both opinions in y'all's comments, which is pretty fair. I mean, everyone has, their own preference, but the weather is perceived entirely different based on who you are. So, I mean, if it's cold, it's cold, but you know what I mean. Anyway, let's see what he has to say about this.
may not surprise people. Let's be honest, I'm coming from a pretty low bar in the UK where the weather is known to be very bad. But I think also at the same time, people have this perception of Poland being sort of perpetually grey and snowy and just like some sort of grey wilderness, which might be true for maybe 5 or 6 months of the year and the winter side of the year. But on the other side of the year, in the summer side of the year, the weather is, generally speaking, really nice and really reliable. So would you be surprised to learn that Warsaw gets more sunshine in a calendar year than London? Probably not, right?
Who would have thought? I mean, we know this. We know roughly a little bit about this because of how we've been talking about Poland on the channel for a while. And we see countless videos even talking about like when to visit different things. But it's actually kind of crazy. I never really thought about the comparison this way of, you can't see it because my camera's in the way, but you got a sizable amount of hours over London. But even then, it's like when people compare countries, I think that we need to start comparing more hours of sunshine before we ever start talking about weather, because it does kind of seem like Poland does get a bad rap now that he brings it up.
Yeah, London's UK, fair enough. What about Paris?
Oh,
it's true. Warsaw
I didn't know
gets
that.
more sunshine in the year than Paris. What about Barcelona? Warsaw gets more sun than Barcelona. No, okay.
Is it?
That's clearly not true.
Okay, I was about to say, is that okay? That seems kind of like a stretch. I was ready to believe it because I was like, I didn't know about the Paris one, but I was like, Barcelona, really? That seems kind of wild.
I'm getting carried away.
Okay, yeah, that's dramatically different. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was gonna agree, but be skeptical at the same time. Thank God he corrected that, because it would have bothered me all day.
But what I can say is that within the 6 months of the year in summer, Warsaw gets more sunshine than Milan. That's true. I'm going to put my sources in the link below. Warsaw gets...
I'll check the sources after stream, or not after stream, after the video. But if he's that confident, I'll go with it. I'll take it. I'll accept it.
Gets more sun than Milan in summer months. So look, I'm not out here pretending that Poland and Warsaw is like Saint-Tropez in the south of France, right? Obviously, it's not. I'm just trying to make the point that the 6 months of the year in the summer are actually pretty good, and we're living okay over here. We get quite a lot of sun and quite a lot of vitamin D. And if you hear that and you're thinking that's a load of BS because you live here yourself, don't hate on me. Like I said, I'm British. My baseline is very low, but I'm loving it here. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit controversial, which is the drinking culture in Poland compared to the UK.
Okay. Now, if you're new to my channel and you'd never heard my commentary on this, I want to say this. My culture, I'm an American, but my culture dates back to Tejano and Mexican culture, right? So we're cool with drinking. So to me, it's perfectly fine. But for some other countries, maybe not. So I might like it, but just letting you know, there's a bias because of my culture.
Now, Poland definitely does have an issue with alcohol, I would say. I don't think that's controversial to say. It's a very big drinking culture. Alcoholism is an issue in Poland. You see lots of people on the street drinking who may be homeless or just down on the luck, and obviously that's never a nice sight.
But is it actually one of the worst drinking cultures? I've never looked into this. But I feel like, no, I don't know. Because the population of Poland is not as big as some of these other countries that have drinking problems or drinking like heavily drinking culture, so it might not be as bad. But I don't know, huh? Nah, I don't know, because Mexican culture is pretty bad about drinking. There's a lot of alcoholism in Mexican culture, or even Brazilian culture. There's a lot of cultures that have heavy, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. Again, my culture's is more in line with it anyway. So, but it's something to think about. I don't know.
To see. So I'm not discounting or denying any of that. However, when you compare that to the UK is much more of a binge drinking culture, and it's more of a wild drinking culture. So,
binge drinking, excess drinking over a short period of time, or short period.
One thing that you will frequently see, or just any time that you go out in any town or city on a night in the UK on the weekend, is it's just very messy. You see a lot of arguments, you see a lot of fighting, you see a lot of vomiting, you see a lot of disgusting stuff, honestly. But I can honestly say, in Polish cities, I've never, even once, I don't think I'm exaggerating to say, seen the kind of scenes that I've seen in the UK.
Well, I think it's because, let's be honest, you're Polish people. Hey, y'all are very judgmental. Let's not lie. I mean, come on now. Y'all give each other the look like. And he'd be like, I'm laughing. Just kidding. No. Yeah, I think y'all just have more a sense of, y'all have a sense of dignity and self-respect. Some of these countries got no shame, okay? Americans are the same way sometimes. They love binge drinking, so I can tell you that is the case.
In Warsaw, there's about 2 miles worth of bars and restaurants on the Vistula River, which in the summer is packed out. Everyone's sitting on the steps by the riverbank, drinking, basically getting a bit drunk, or very drunk. I've been there many times myself, and not once have I seen a single bit of aggression that's turned into a fight or anything like that at all. I can almost guarantee if this was in the UK, there would be bottles being smashed, there would be people being thrown into that river, or people just jumping in to have a swim, having to be fished out. It would be carnage, I'm sure of it. And this just doesn't really exist in Polish culture. Again, I'm obviously not denying that, like aggression occurs and that things can happen. Of course it can, but not on the scale that it does in the UK, I'm sure. Something else which I much prefer.
I think it's like a difference between binge drinking and casual drinking. Like drinking with like every meal, or not saying that y'all do that, but there's a little bit more acceptance to drink on things that are more common. Whereas like some people from the UK, at least what it seems is like they'll wait for the weekend to go crazy. You know what I mean?
In Poland compared to the UK is the infrastructure and more generally the public transport, which honestly, in my experience, is cheap, it's efficient, on time, and is just quite a pleasant experience compared to the UK. We can take the London Underground as an example, which is an amazing piece of infrastructure, but it's also, I believe, the oldest, or certainly one of the oldest underground networks in the world. So it's a little bit clunky, it can be a little bit smelly, it's just not the most pleasant experience, which is just something that you don't encounter in Poland, which has just newer infrastructure. Then when we talk about...
That's one of the advantages of like developing your country later in its lifespan, which sounds kind of crazy to even say that it's a pro, because I would rather be a sovereign nation longer. But like, look at some of the countries now that have older trains and all that type of infrastructure. It's almost next to impossible to upgrade it and replace it because of how many people rely on it and how much is built on it. Whereas like you guys, because y'all started developing a little bit later, or a lot later than a lot of countries, y'all had the advantage to better place your stuff, and you still do. Like y'all are developing even now. So y'all are able to learn from all the mistakes that, all the Western world has made. Like y'all probably gonna get bullet trains before, a lot of the Western countries will. I don't know. I don't know anything about trains. I thought about covering it on the channel, but I don't know. I'd rather see it in person, which hopefully soon. Hopefully this year we'll be at Poland. probably be towards the end of the year, though.
Trains, there's the Pendolino service in Poland, which is the high-speed train that connects a lot of the major cities through the spine of the country. You're going to pay for that maybe around, let's say, £40, which is in zloty 200 to 300 zloty for a return ticket between major cities, which is not nothing. But again, when you compare it to the UK, you're paying times 3 or sometimes times 4 that quite regularly to do it, and very often for a much lesser service. And in the UK, up to 30% of train stops are actually running behind schedule. So you're paying all that premium for an unreliable service, essentially. All right, now I want to move on to the last reason on why I prefer living here compared to the UK, which is a big one as well, and that is the economic growth.
Oh, and you know what's crazy? I don't know what it is. Look, I'm not trying to judge Polish people because I love y'all. Y'all are great. A lot of people just don't understand. They just don't understand that Poland is experiencing economic growth. You guys are in an economic boom right now. For some reason, there's still Polish people that just don't understand that. And I know this because I see this in my comments, like trying to argue with me. I'm not going to argue with people in the comments. That's just not what I do. But there is real growth. There's a reason why economically everyone's investing money in Poland. One, because when a country invests in their military and protects their country, if I'm a tech company and I want to bring jobs to Poland, I know it's going to be my investment's going to be protected by your country. Like, it's not going to be taken over by Russia the next day, you know? So there's real growth that comes with that. That's why there's so many jobs being created in Poland. So many programs to develop more positions and more jobs in Poland. So it's a really good time to be to be in Poland right now. It's probably realistically if you're not really set up and really going, like if you're not set up living in Poland and have a job in the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to miss the big boom of economic growth, right? So right now, Poland is kind of like this, where it's slowly going. But if you look at economics and the history of the world, it'll eventually go and just like shoot up. It hasn't hit that part yet. Some people say it has. I don't think so. Look, I'm not an economist, but some of the people that say that's like it's on the like crazy rise, that is true, but I don't think it's reached its peak, right? I think it's more of a slow incline because there's so much infrastructure that still needs to be developed. So for me personally, you can't hit your peak if all that hasn't been built yet. Does that make sense? Like you're saying, okay, like if I invested into your country and I say I'm going to create, I don't know, 5,000 jobs. If I haven't built the building, like I'm creating jobs obviously by hiring people to build my building, but if I haven't built the building yet, I haven't technically given you those 5,000 jobs. A lot of growth will then come from those 5,000 jobs when I finish the building. So I just think, I'm basically what I'm saying is people that are like in denial of it shouldn't be, but also I think people shouldn't be like super bullish right now about it because a lot of the growth hasn't really hit yet. It's happening, but I think there's more potential. But there's just a lot of developing that has to be done or finished, but there's a lot that's still being developed. In regards to infrastructure and different programs
that Poland is experiencing. Firstly, Poland's economy has doubled in size over the past 2 decades, far outstripping its other Central European neighbors and twice the rate of other OECD nations. Looking globally, only China has seen a larger proportional GDP increase than Poland since 1990.
But some of those numbers are, are questionable, especially not because I'm American. I'm not criticizing China just because I'm American. They are known to lie a lot about certain things because it's, the CCP controls a lot of the narrative of their country. And we know this, especially recently, because of how they're suffering economically right now. They may not say they are, but they are, which is why they're so desperate to get all the investment money that they invested around the world, get it back because of the housing crisis that they built. They built like something like 10,000 apartments and they're all empty. some crazy number like that.
Inequalities in disposable income within Poland remain pretty low. So the Gini coefficient, which is basically a measurement for wealth disparities within a society, in Poland is lower than the UK, it's lower than the USA, and it's lower than Japan. So ranks pretty well.
It's pretty good. And I talked about this in another video. I think as long as I talked about this in another video, I don't know which video it was, but to give credit to Poland, but also a warning is like, technically, you guys are really, really good because you're really good at, there's all this economic growth. So you're controlling the inflation as it's happening. You don't want the inflation to go out of control, because then that gap between the wealth, it gets way bigger. Because the poorer you are, your money's worth less because of inflation. But the more richer you are, you can easier to stack money because of inflation. But anyway, the point is, like, there's a lot of people saying like, oh, all this investment money needs to happen. It needs to be released into the economy immediately. And it's like, well, no, you don't want to do that because that'll spiral your economy out of control with inflation. So this number looks good as long as you guys keep easing in all that investment money into your country. Don't let it spiral out of control with too much really, really fast. Because all the small businesses will start falling apart because they just won't be able to compete with all the new money coming in. So I think this is good, but it still means, it doesn't mean that you should just not pay attention to it.
And finally, sort of pulling all of this together, it's largely predicted by economists that it's very likely and possible that Poland's general economy could overtake the UK's and Japan's, by the way, as soon as 2030.
I don't want to disagree, but it's possible. I wouldn't say yes, but it is possible. It's absolutely possible, but you have to stay super focused. Focus on Polish people first, secure your borders, prevent immigration, invest in your own people, protect your country so that investments keep coming into your country and creating jobs. And and because you're a country built on families, you're more likely to increase your birth rate once all this starts happening. So then your country will be solid in the long term. But it's just like, you got to stay focused. Don't give in to these weird Western ideas of like, let's just rule our country on vibes. Like, you got to stay focused on it. And I think you guys are doing that now, but it's still important to stay focused.
Which honestly is quite a sobering data point to look at for a Brit, certainly a Brit of my generation and probably older Brits as well, who have grown up all our life sort of thinking that we are, or have been told that we're very much a global leader. To hear something like that, but it's very much true.
The UK is not a global leader.
And it's very much predicted. My overall point here is that these aren't just numbers. They're actually really shown in terms of how the Polish infrastructure feels and operates, and just the general atmosphere in the country, which just feels like it's moving forward a little bit more than the UK. Also,
and the thing is, it's like, it also shows that like the policies and the politics of the last like 8 to 12 years of this like super left leaning ideology didn't work. If you look at what we had going on those years, and then we look at now, the countries that still embrace it are doing exponentially worse than a country like Poland, who rejected those and embraced a more traditional Polish people first style economy and governance. I mean, look at the United States at the time of this video. It's America first, and unironically, America's doing better now because it's putting itself first. I think every country, if they put themselves first, can better their position, but not just in the world, but to increase the lives of their own citizens. It's not that hard. And if anything, if a country like, now obviously it's a little bit different because America and Poland have a strong relationship, and we have historically. People don't know this. Why? People think it's weird that Americans love Poland and Poland loves Americans, and it's because there's a lot of Polish people in America, like a lot. So that being said, it's like, you can make better trades when you believe in yourself. Does that make sense? If America believes America first and Poland believes Polish first, you could actually come to the table with clear, defined terms and be better to make better deals because you're both on the same page of what you want from the very beginning. not this weird like what the EU does, where they're like, well, let's be all friends, but we're gonna stab each other in the back. But let's be friends. It's like you're supposed to be allies. Like either be allies or don't. Like, but y'all need to make up y'all's mind. And then the irony is a lot of that, like things that they do to like screw over other countries, don't even benefit their citizens. They just get rich. These weird oligarchs get rich. So it's a whole different rant. But basically, credit to Poland for pushing against all that and believing in you when the world didn't want to.
Just to say, I'm aware that I've referenced quite a lot of different sources here and said quite a lot of data points. I'm going to include a link to everything that I've referenced down below in the description of the video if you want to go fact check me and dig into anything more in your own time. Just before rounding off this video, I do think it's really important to say, though, that Poland is not perfect. Of course, it has its issues like any country. And in Poland's case, definitely some significant issues, right? So we can't forget that there's definitely a big old war happening just across the border, which shook a lot of people's sense of security here back in 2022 when it started. I think it's also important to say that Poland definitely has, let's say, a very complicated relationship with its LGBTQ plus community, which is a very complex and sensitive.
I just think, look, if your culture does, like, I hate this weird notion that we have to like tell other cultures that they're bad or good. Like this, like, not to criticize this guy, but the way he's talking about it, he would not talk about it about Saudi Arabia, Qatar, or any of these other countries. Poland is held to an unreasonable standard, whereas all these other countries, in at least perceived to Europeans, are not. They're not held to the same standard at all. So if I'm looking at Qatar and I see that their laws and stuff like that aren't favorable to a certain community, I'm an American. I'm not going to tell them what to do. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh, I'm greater than thou. Like, no, if your country and your culture is that way, so be it. That's the way it is, right? At the end of the day, I can't control that. I don't like that he's doing this with the Polish people. The Polish people are going to roll the way they want to roll. Let them be. Now, there is to be said if, like, let's say, for example, like Iran, who's clearly being, it hopefully will become Persia again, right? But they're killing protesters like crazy. Now, that's maybe when I will want to say something and be like, yo, that's not right. Right? You see the difference, though? That's all I'm saying.
Topic which I'm not going to go into in this video, but I think is fair and worth saying.
Because like at the end of the day, that community can move out of Poland if they truly don't feel safe. Like, but then what are they going to go to the UK that has better laws that actually don't, because the migrants that they're importing actually don't like that community? So it's like, where do you go? Like it's so stupid. No, you'd win no matter what if you play this game.
And of course, abortion is still illegal in Poland.
Like this, who cares, bro? Like the thing is, it's like, yeah, he wants to judge. Oh my God, this is making me mad. If the culture doesn't believe in that and the people don't believe in it, why are we acting like it's so bad? You know what? One of the leading killers in the US is abortion. I personally believe, like, if I believe people should have the right to do it. I don't care, but it's more of like a choice thing. But at the same time, I'm not dumb enough to ignore the fact that how many people have died at the hands of abortion. And actually, statistically speaking, Black Americans are more vulnerable in their communities to abortion, meaning that a lot of Black Americans have been killed through abortion. Or if you don't, we can argue about whether or not the babies or whatever. But because abortion is so common in the Black community, their numbers are exponentially low, a low percentage of the population. So, it's like if abortion didn't exist, they would have a better standing in America because there would be more of them, but they don't because the abortion culture is pushed on them. So it's a two-way street. You can't just say, oh, this culture is bad for not having it. No, there's positive and negatives to everything. Like, look at America. We did the whole LGBTQ thing. Nobody cared. And the reality is majority of the world doesn't even believe in that and like accept it. I might accept it, me personally, whatever my neighbor, my friends want to live their lives. I'm not going to judge them. I accept them for who they are. But I'm not going to be dumb enough to be like, well, the whole world has to accept it. No, like that's not how the world works. The same thing with abortion. Like, we got to move past this. I hate that we did this for the last It's called the social police. We're not the social police. Whatever country wants to do whatever the fuck, let them do whatever the fuck. Who cares? Okay? Just appreciate and love the people and treat them with respect when you're there and when you see them. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. My whole rant. It's like a whole other 15 minutes. All right. I like this video up until this point, man. Stop. This guy's got to stop this shit. It's so cringe.
Which is, yeah, a very divisive topic as well. So yeah, like any...
But it doesn't need to be divisive. Look at it logically. If a country wants to do it a certain way, then let them do it a certain way. And I know this. And look, the thing is, if you don't know this, my audience is not just all Polish. My audience is all over the world. Ironically, it's so many different countries, but I have the smallest population in my audience is American. But I have a population from all over the world. Okay. From Christian, Muslims to atheist countries, whatever. It's such a broad makeup that regardless of where you are, the concept still is the same. If a country believes something like this, then let it be. It's not my job to change it. If I go as a tourist, it's not my job to change that. I am there as a good guest. If I leave, that's it. We got to stop this social policing stuff. It's kind of cringe.
Country, Poland definitely has its contradictions, its more complex issues, and yeah, potentially its drawbacks as well. So what I'm not saying is that Poland is some form of utopian paradise. But to wrap it up, after 5 years here, I would say that I prefer living in Poland because it is...
It's that Warsaw effect on them. I think that's what it is, y'all. I think it's that Warsaw stuff. You know what I mean? I think it's Warsaw. It's been getting to his brain.
Safer. It's cleaner. The weather's a little bit kinder to me.
Because but do you hear what he's saying? Like, this is what's ironic about what he's saying. He's like, it's not accepting of these other things that these other countries have. But wait a minute, why is this country safe, clean, everyone respects it? But then this country that accepts the LGBTQ and all this abortion stuff, they're falling apart. Where's hey, are we missing is he not seeing hey, where's the connection? Cause what's going on? He's missing, man, he's almost like he's missing something. It's almost, he's so close, but he's not figuring out what is actually. I like this guy, but I don't want to make fun of him, but he's missing it. He's so close, but he's not realizing what's happening here. Right? It's just, oh my gosh.
The economy is going places and you can feel it in the infrastructure and the atmosphere of the people in the cities. And yeah, for these reasons, I do not plan anytime soon on moving back.
The UK is very LGBTQ friendly, but don't worry, you're more likely to get R-worded. So it's one of the trade-offs, bro. Pick your battles, man. This is so crazy.
To the UK, that's for sure. So that's it. If you like the video, please hit like. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe.
This was a great video. Actually, you know what? We might watch some more on this guy. I actually really like him. I'm a little harsh and kind of trolly towards the end, but I think he's well-natured and well-intentioned. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. I love you guys. I'll check you on the next one. Bye-bye. This video is brought to you actually by viewers like you. Thank you so much for subscribing and being part of my journey and allowing me to be a part of yours. Let's create new memories this 2025 on our road to 1 million subscribers. And with all that jazz out of the way, I just want to say thank you so much. I love y'all and enjoy the video.